Welcome back to Football Daily, where today we're counting down the 10 most successful clubs in world football. Here we go. 10. Real Madrid. We begin with an obvious one. With 33 La Ligas and 13 Champions Leagues, Real Madrid are both the most successful team in Spain and in European competition. Founded in 1902 by a group of prestigious students from the Spanish capital, Los Blancos were actually inspired to wear all white by Corinthian FC, the London-based club who were renowned across the footballing world at the time for their sporting excellence and strict adherence to the morals of the game. And while the modern Real Madrid don't exactly have a squeaky clean image, they have gifted the world some of the greatest sides to have ever played the game. From the club's original incarnation, which won 4 consecutive Copa del Reys in the 1900s, to the great 1950s side of Puskas, Di Stefano and Paco Gento, which won the first 5 European Cups, to Zidane's 3-in-a-row titans of the late 2010s. Amazingly, between 1966 and 1998, Los Merengues went 32 years without winning the continent's biggest prize. But come 2019 and they hold 6 more than any other side, and 8 more than arch-rivals Barcelona. Meanwhile, their historic conflict with the Catalan club has only driven Real to spend more money over the years, perhaps the biggest factor in their continued assault on silverware in the last 20 years. Despite the odd crisis here and there, we can't see the juggernaut slowing down anytime soon. 9. Boca Juniors. Unlike Real, Boca Juniors cannot claim to be the most successful team in their country or continent based on the number of trophies won alone. But they're right up there. River Plate may have won more league titles than them, with Independiente more Copa Libertadores, but Boca have arguably been more consistent than both. Not only have the Buenos Aires Giants contested 11 Libertadores finals, more than anyone else, but since being promoted to the Argentinian top flight in 1913, they have won the title at least once in every decade. Unsurprisingly, something achieved by no other club in the country. And consistently being one of the country's elite clubs for over 100 years is no mean feat. It's certainly something that no English or German club can lay claim to. And despite their historic loss to arch-rivals River Plate in the 2018 Libertadores final, they could have had the last laugh. At the time of recording, the club are pushing for the result to be changed in light of the violence carried out by River fans in the build-up to the second leg of the showpiece, which saw a number of Boca players injured and the game postponed, eventually getting played in Madrid. Boca were disqualified from the tournament themselves after a similar incident in 2015, and if the appeal is successful, they will officially become the most successful team in Libertadores history. But do you want to hear more about historic footballing titans like Boca? Make sure you subscribe to Football Daily and hit the notification bell so you don't miss another top 10. 8. River Plate. But we simply couldn't talk about Boca without including River Plate. Los Millonarios have the richest history in Argentinian domestic football, winning a record 36 Primera Division titles and finishing runner-up a record 33 times. The club, which famously spawned Alfredo Di Stefano, the legendary forward who won 2 titles at the Estadio Monumental before moving to Colombia aged 23, and ending up at Real Madrid where he won 8 La Ligas and 5 European Cups. Other titans who have been produced by the Buenos Aires side include Javier Mascherano, Radamel Falcao and Hernan Crespo, whose final act before leaving for Europe in 1996 was scoring the winner in the Copa Libertadores final. However, in recent years, the fans of the Super Club have not experienced the huge success they've been accustomed to, with just 2 title wins since 2004 and a first relegation in their history in 2011, a humiliation which compounded former Daniel Pasarella's disastrous tenure as club president. To make matters even worse, the man known affectionately as El Kaiser now faces fraud charges related to his dealings at the time. 7. Man United. Only just the most successful club in England, Man United have won 44 pieces of major trophies, with Liverpool currently on 41, and almost all of that has come in the last 30 years. Under Sir Alex Ferguson, the Red Devils had a stronghold on English football, winning the Premier League 13 times and the FA Cup 6 times. Along with successes in the League Cup and Champions League, the trophies Ferguson won at Old Trafford make up 66% of the club's total silverware, and the club have upheld a glamorous international image to match their triumphs as a team. Individual superstars such as George Best, Eric Cantona, David Beckham, Cristiano Ronaldo and now Paul Pogba have helped bring a sense of grandeur and celebrity to the club, which has in turn aided them in becoming a commercial powerhouse unmatched by the other Premier League outfits, even when their on-pitch performances have taken a dip. 6. Club Olimpia. Back to South America and to Paraguay, a country which rarely makes it into the football conversation these days, having not qualified for the World Cup since 2010. However, it is also home of one of the continent's superpowers. Club Olimpia have won the Copa Libertadores 3 times, the only team outside Brazil, Argentina and Uruguay to do so. It also means they've won it on more occasions than Brazilian giants Corinthians and Flamengo combined. Furthermore, they have also succeeded on the world stage, winning the Intercontinental Cup, now the Club World Cup, in 1979. The Asuncion club, known fittingly as the King of Cups, have also been similarly dominant on the domestic front. They won their first league title all the way back in 1912, and after the Primera Division went professional in 1935, won 3 out of their first 4 championships. And they continue to be a force in the Paraguayan game, winning both the Apertura and Clausura Championship in 2018, losing just 4 times in 44 games. At the time of recording, they are on course to win a 3rd successive title, this time unbeaten, which would take their overall tally to 43. The club has also been home to some of the country's biggest talents, including Alcio Solalande, who won the Copa Libertadores with Olimpia and the Copa América with Paraguay in 1979, and Roque Santa Cruz, who came through the club's academy in the 90s before moving to Europe aged 18 and playing for the likes of Bayern Munich and Manchester City. Santa Cruz returned to Olimpia in 2016 and at 37 years old is the club's captain. 5. Pohang Steelers. Considering it is the largest and most populous continent on the planet, Asia lags behind comparatively when it comes to its footballing infrastructure. South Korea is a case in point. It is the world's 22nd most developed nation, ahead of France, Spain and Italy, but didn't have a professional football league until 1983. Pohang Steelers are the country's most successful side, having won titles during the semi-professional era and since the formation of what is now known as the K-League 1. In total, they've won the league 8 times, more than anyone else in the country, and while this doesn't seem like a lot compared with others on this list, it is when you consider how young the domestic league system is. On top of that, they have a big reputation on the continent, winning a record 3 AFC Champions Leagues and not once losing in the final. However, they haven't triumphed in the competition since 2009 when they played under Brazilian coach Sergio Farias, who has since managed top clubs in Saudi Arabia, China and India. Furthermore, they haven't even qualified since 2016, with their last domestic title coming 3 years earlier. 4. Benfica. Giants of Europe in their day, Benfica haven't won a continental competition since 1962 and have lost in 8 finals since. And while we're not usually superstitious, this chronic run of form can only be attributed to one thing: the curse laid on the club by legendary manager Bela Gutmann, who claimed they wouldn't win a European tournament for 100 years when he quit following a dispute over pay. Guess they'll have to wait until 2062. However, the Eagles have been consistently dominant on the domestic front, winning the Liga NOS a record 36 times, 8 more than Porto, and have also triumphed in the Taça de Portugal more than anyone else, lifting the cup on 26 occasions. And while they owe much of this success to great management, with the likes of Gutmann, Sven-Göran Eriksson and Jorge Jesus enjoying hugely successful spells in Lisbon, the club has also been home to some of the country's greatest ever players, namely Eusebio, who scored 473 goals in 440 appearances in a 15-year stint at the Estadio de Luz. 3. Club América. Football in Mexico has always been wildly competitive, with 24 different clubs having won what is now known as the Liga MX since its formation in the 1940s. For comparison, that's the same number as have won the English top flight, which has run for over 50 years longer. Mexico City giants Club América have won the most titles with 13, one more than Chivas, and at the time of recording are the country's most recent champions, winning the 2018 Apertura. By all accounts, they are the nation's biggest footballing institution, playing at the mammoth Estadio Azteca, having built a reputation over the years for outspending their rivals on transfers and wages, and attracting foreign talents to play for them. For example, Hector Zelada, the Argentinian goalkeeper who won a number of titles with the club in the 1980s. This has seen them become roundly hated by fans of other Mexican clubs, a predicament Las Aguilas have come to embrace, adopting the phrase "Ódiame más," hate me more, as their unofficial slogan. Unfortunately for rival supporters, the fact the club are owned by Televisa, one of the largest media companies in the world, means they will likely remain in and around the top of the league for years to come. 2. Rangers. As much as Chris Hamill doesn't like to admit it, there's only one winner in the historic Old Firm battle. Not only have Rangers won 5 more league titles than Celtic, they are also the most decorated club in Europe, winning a total of 115 trophies during their 147-year history, more than double what Man United have shown for all their efforts. The Gers' most dominant era came in the 90s, when they won 11 titles in 12 seasons, with the likes of Brian Laudrup, Paul Gascoigne and Gio Van Bronckhorst attracted to Ibrox as Graham Souness, Walter Smith and then Dick Advocaat ran the show in the blue half of Glasgow. But as we know, recent years have seen the club drop off the pace significantly, liquidating in 2012 and starting back at the bottom of the Scottish Football League. Still playing catch-up with Celtic on the field and commercially, it's been over 10 years since Rangers spent over £20 million in a transfer window. But with increased investment and Steven Gerrard at the helm, the Teddy Bears may well become an attractive proposition again in years to come. 1. Al Ahly. The most successful football club in Egypt, Al Ahly were named African Club of the Century in the year 2000. And it's no wonder, the Cairo club have won a total of 117 trophies, more than anyone else in the world. and have lifted 24 international trophies, a record only bettered by Real Madrid. Founded in 1907 by Omar Lofty, Al Ahly was set up due to a demand for local participation in competitive football during the British occupation of Egypt, with Ali translating as national. The first honorary president of the club was prominent nationalist Saad Zaghloul, who would later serve as the country's prime minister, and during the 1920s the club made its membership scheme exclusive to Egyptians, earning themselves the title the People's Club. By the time the country became fully independent in the 1950s, they were already the dominant force on the domestic scene. They won each of the first 9 Egyptian Premier Leagues, with Zamalek finally breaking their run in 1960. Fast forward to 2019 and nothing's really changed. Al Ahly now have 40 league titles to their name, having won all but 1 since 2004 and having lost out on just 5 since 1993. However, it's not all been plain sailing for the historic club. The Port Said Stadium disaster in 2012 took the lives of 72 Al Ahly fans and remains one of the biggest tragedies in the history of the global game.
So I hope you enjoyed that video, guys. Let me know what you thought in the comments down below, and make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel and hit that notification bell so you never miss one when we produce it. See you next time, guys.